Hey, family. It's Monday. It's Yolanda. It's time for another episode of Everybody at the Table. I am so excited to be here with you today, and I am live and in person. I know, right? I do want to do more live episodes, and the reason I'm doing it today is because I had to go to an event, and I had makeup, had hair, I had all the things, and so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to record the podcast in live form. And what's interesting is the event that I went to, which was a women's empowerment Mother's Day brunch, but it happens to have one of the candidates who is running for the Georgia Secretary of State, Judge Penny Brown Reynolds, who was the keynote. And I had an opportunity to sit at her table, and we had a wonderful dialogue around her campaign, what she's seeing out in the campaign streets, how she's feeling about where people are. And the one thing she said to me was she feels like people are hurting, and that many of the folks who voted for the current federal administration, the Trump administration, have buyer's remorse. And though they may never admit it personally, they are feeling the pain of the decisions that have been made by this person who seems to only care about enriching himself and his friends. And so now we're here at the midterm elections. The momentum, as it generally does, if you study elections in this country, the pendulum swings every 2 years because the people in power get blamed for the problems. And right now we have a lot of them. We have gas, almost $5 a gallon. I keep saying that. Wages are not growing, though the stock market seems to be growing, which is a further signal that we have two different economies. We have people who are advancing, a very few who are advancing, and they're advancing their stock portfolios and enriching themselves off of the federal government through grants and all kinds of things. And we have the majority of the people in this country that are really struggling and having to sit down and have table issues with gas going up. What does that raise? Immediately food costs go up. Housing is going up. And what's not going up is wages. And so we have a real mix of where people from all walks of life are connecting over the common things that we know we all have in common. That's why we have this conversation around everybody being at the table, because we have more things in common than we have different. And we've allowed the political climate to compartmentalize us into certain fractions that really keeps them in power, and most of us struggling just to make it. And so for today, I want to kind of follow me. I got a thought process that I'm going to walk through regarding the current election, why it is important that you are at the table, that your vote is at the table. So follow me. I'm going to kind of cut this about 3 different ways, but in the end, I think you'll get where I'm going. In 2016, the last year that President Obama was president of the United States, Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia dies. And Barack Obama nominates Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. The then leader of the Republican Party, who was the governing caucus of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, refused to bring Merrick Garland's vote up in the Senate because he knew, that it was likely that it would be a close election, and that if he had a chance to get a Republican in, then he would be able to keep the court conservative. And that's what happened. He blocked the nomination of Merrick Garland. Donald Trump wins. And when Donald Trump is sworn in, they bring Neil Gorsuch up as the replacement for Justice Scalia. The court is still conservative, moderately, but it's a 5-4 court. In 2018, Justice Kennedy resigns. Donald Trump gets to select a second conservative judge. Now remember, Supreme Court justices, federal judges, all of them are lifetime appointments. So they are intentionally recruiting younger conservative judges so that they can control the courts for a longer period of time. The rub comes in 2020. It was said that the Obama administration approached Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was a liberal judge, about retiring. She was in her 80s. She had some health issues. She refused to retire. which was in her right to do. She dies August of 2020. And Donald Trump, then president, unpopular, COVID is ravishing the nation. We know that he is not going to make this election. The pendulum of the people in power, losing power, is in track. Joe Biden is leading in the polls, but he gets to appoint a third conservative judge, literally swinging the vote from a 5-4 conservative court to a 6-3 conservative court with the nomination and appointment of Amy Coney Barrett. Then, of course, we have Judge Jackson, who is placed on the court when Justice Berger resigns, and Joe Biden is able to place her on the court. Follow me. So we have a conservative Supreme Court, now even more conservative because we have a 6-3 balance in favor of conservative thought and ideology. On April 29th of 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court votes that a congressional map in the state of Louisiana is unconstitutional because it's drawn with race in mind. It is drawn to ensure that there is representation for a majority Black community in the state's congressional elections. April 29th of this year, the conservative Supreme Court decided that. And it eroded the rights of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which was passed because Black people were being disenfranchised in the South. Now, you got to go back to and read about what was happening. They weren't just being disenfranchised. They literally were having to take poll tests. They weren't allowed to vote. Their voting places were being bombed. Dogs were getting put on them to keep them from voting. So there was a reason Congress at that time and Judge Lyndon B. Johnson voted in the Voting Rights Act because it was needed, and it's still needed, because since a week ago, when the Supreme Court allowed congressional maps to be struck down, you have in the state of Florida, in the state of Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, and now South Carolina, all southern states are redistricting their congressional maps to ensure that it's a majority Republican leaning congressional map, meaning that though there are progressives throughout all of these states, I think the quote is 60-something% of African Americans live in the South. They won't have any representation in the Congress in their states because these maps are being redrawn, because of the decision of a conservative Supreme Court, because of presidents that were voted in. What is the line that I'm trying to say to you? Is your vote matters. Everybody deserves a seat at the table, and your vote is a seat at the table. And currently right now, we're going through the midterm elections, and there is so much apathy and concern and people who don't think that vote matters. I am here to tell you that if your vote did not matter, then they would not work so hard to suppress it. They would not work so hard to draw maps and put judges in place that favor their position, that disempowers so many people. You can see my passion. And this is why I'm doing a live podcast. I need you to see, hear, feel my passion enough to carry this message within your own self and within your own community that you need to vote. In the state of Georgia, our current elections are happening. I voted yesterday with my daughter, or I voted Friday because I'm recording this on Saturday. I voted Friday with my daughter and I. We vote together every year. We voted our entire ballot. Now, a couple of things I need you to know is that the midterm ballot generally is very busy. Very, very, very busy. The midterm and presidential, you have all of these state offices that are up for election, including your congressional candidates, your Senate, your statewide governor in my state, the governor, the secretary of state, which I'm going to get to in a minute, they are all on the ballot. And it is important that we show up and make our voices heard. My current senator, Senator Raphael Warnock, Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock, said at the Democratic National Convention last year, your vote is the type of prayer for the world that you want to see. And I cannot stress enough how important, as you see these things play out, that we get out and we vote, and you vote in favor of the world that you want to see. Now, I'll probably talk to a largely moderate progressive audience because of just our topic of making sure everyone has access for all. You're probably not listening to this podcast if you're not interested in that concept. And generally, that's more of a progressive thinking person and a progressive voting person. And so it's equally important for this community to vote as we see so many rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, African American and Black and people of color rights, so many people with disabilities. All of these rights are being challenged and taken away from people in favor of folks who have an idea of what the world should be that's very homogenous and, quite honestly, very patriarchal and very white. That's just the truth. Y'all know that's how I feel. I don't bite my tongue when it comes to these things. Now, to that end, I told you I was going somewhere. I had the opportunity today. I went to the Harmonize Your Life Self-Care Mother's Day brunch. Now, y'all know I'm not the girly. This is my sister's organization, and she's doing a phenomenal work in helping women to align and balance in life. And there, I had an opportunity to meet someone I voted for yesterday. Did not know her, had not had a chance to dialogue with her before yesterday when I placed my vote, but I had researched her. So that's the second thing I want you to do. Make sure you research your ballot. It's so much on the ballot that when you get in there, you will be frozen stiff if you don't go to your Board of Elections, get a ballot, understand all of the races that are on the ballot. Do your research. It's going to take you some days. It took me about 5 days. You don't have that much time for the primary left. Go to your Board of Elections. You can even go online to your local Board of Elections, not the state, and get a sample ballot. See all the races that are on there. Research the candidates because it's a lot. Okay? So make sure you're doing that. I had an opportunity to meet and sit and hear with a person I voted for just by doing my research on her, not knowing that today I would be in her presence. I am so happy to say that I cast my vote for Judge Penny Brown Reynolds, who is running for the Secretary of State of Georgia. Now, why is that important? In 2020, when Donald Trump knew he was losing Georgia and there was a recount, he called our current Secretary of State, Brad Roethlisberger, and asked him to find 11,000 votes and some change. Y'all remember that famous call? And because Brad Roethlisberger, though we do not align politically, is a man of integrity, he not only told Donald Trump he would not cheat, he recorded the call to expose Donald Trump for wanting to cheat. That tells you the importance of the Secretary of State. Judge Reynolds would be a phenomenal Secretary of State. She would be the first Black woman in the state of Georgia to be Secretary of State, and she would be a phenomenal leader who would continue to keep our election safe and be a trusted leader that she would not cheat for an election. So that's important as well. I can't explain the dichotomy I have right now. I'm hopeful and I'm burdened. I'm hopeful for the future because I am a glass half full girl. I couldn't live life in the pessimistic world. I have to believe that there's something better. And I'm going to fight for that better every day of my life. I'm burdened because so many are hurting. So many have lost that faith and they've lost that hope. And I don't know how to get them back, to wake them up. That's the reason I do this podcast, right? I ain't making no money on this podcast, y'all. At least not right now. But I do it because I feel like if I put my voice out in the atmosphere, if you put your voice out in the atmosphere, if we collectively work together to make a better future, that somehow, somewhere, one person will be encouraged to go vote and to not just vote for themselves, but to vote for the entire community, just have a place at the table. That's why I do this work. Oh yeah, and a bonus. I want you to listen to Judge Brown. She's fantastic. I got a little clip of her session. More to come on the Harmonize Your Life podcast. You can hear more from her, but I got a little clip of her session when she was presenting. So check her out. Phenomenal voice, would be an amazing leader for our state.
But too many of us live behind a facade of what people think we are. With all the degrees and all the pedigrees, I'm at the point in my life where I want you to understand that it is through the struggle that resilience has been birthed. And that we all have a story. That we're all coming out of trauma of some kind. And we're all working through the healing of that. And isn't that what harmonizing is all about? It is about working yourself through your healing. Not through balance, because you're never maybe going to really find that. I'm the product of those who could not vote, but believed enough in the promise of America to keep hoping anyway. I'm a civil rights person because I believe in human rights. And we are in a state now where we're dehumanizing each other. And I don't want to be a part of that. So I decided not to deliver an ordinary message because this is no ordinary time.
No, it's not.
And on February 23rd, 1961, Penny lost her baby. And hence, this little girl, February 23rd, 1961, was born, and I took the name Penny. But what was most unusual about it was I was actually in a hospital in Texas, and my mother said, bring the child to me one time before I let her go for adoption. And she saw it as a sign from the Lord that she was to keep me, because I had been a child of a rape. And through it all, that blessed woman poured so much into me that I thank God that she kept me. So I want to just give my mama
Get ready to vote. Get ready to get active. Get ready to fight for the future you want to see. Hit the comments with your thoughts, with your ideas, with when you're voting, what you're doing to help the campaigns that maybe you believe in, or even if you have questions on how you can volunteer. I will do my best to steer you in that direction. Until next time, take care. Oh, and I'm going to be on sabbatical for 2 weeks, so we won't have a full episode in 2 weeks after this because it's my birthday. Yay, it's my birthday. And I will be in Japan. So pray my safe travel. Until next time, take care and die well.